thank you so much for being on our podcast. We really appreciate it. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Wilma Wu, and I have been a school counselor at Homestead, I think for like 17 years, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
Seen a lot of changes and still here.
Yeah, that's great. Can you tell us a bit about like the things that you've learned as a school counselor within those 17 years?
Oh, it's a long span. I'm always learning, which is why I really enjoy this job. I've learned a lot about different needs that students have. I've also learned a lot about how to work and help them. One thing I really like about my job is all the collaborating that I get to do. So it's just constantly learning. So every season, every grade level, just a lot of opportunities to help people and get a glimpse of like what's going on in like the real world.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Why did you initially choose to be a counselor?
That's a good question. I actually think when I was in high school, I didn't utilize my counselor very much. I just kind of like did school on my own. But throughout my college education, I actually remember this very clearly. I took an education class. I wasn't an education major. It was just one of those like you had to take a college course in multiple categories and just happen to choose education. And in that class I learned a lot about like different inequalities, about education. I actually remember my own high school being one of the articles we read about. It was like we were dealing with like affirmative action at the time. This is a long time ago. So it was just really interesting. I was like, oh, I didn't even know all this stuff was happening. And then I started to realize like how much education could be used to help people in various ways, not just academics, but like in mobility and just all these different things. So that kind of opened my eyes up. It took me a while to find counseling. Like I thought about being a teacher. I taught English overseas for a few years. I worked with families who weren't born here. And then, I don't know, somehow I think I got a hold of this credential and I was like, oh, what is this? And then I eventually went to San Jose State and then learned about counseling. And even since then, I've learned so much about like what the job entails, because just like most jobs, it's on the job learning.
No, Dev.
Yeah.
Why counseling? I'm curious, like, I know that you've explored several like different things, but like what really made you be like, oh, I want to do this, you know?
That's a very good question. I did, because I thought about being like in elementary. Like teaching ESL, which I also had some attempts to do, but I realized as I was teaching that I was much more of a one-on-one person, and I could build like relationship, or I just felt more myself. Like I felt, I think there's people who are, just their teaching is just comes out, and I think maybe I could have learned, but I also felt like maybe I could try something different. And so when I started doing counseling and realized that was just, it was perfect.
Well, that's great. Yeah, honestly, like, I think it's great how like counselors can do that like relationship building, because if it were me and someone were like coming up to me with problems with college, with like scheduling, like how do you guys know like what to say? I would just sit there like
you learn. Like I said, I'm a much stronger counselor than I was probably my first year, and you also, it makes a huge difference to have colleagues that are, I always feel like I'm on a team. Like I don't ever feel like I am counseling by myself, but I also feel like I can go to anybody. Actually, at Homestead, everyone's really collaborative, but I think in terms of just knowing what to say or how to say it, it just comes with experience and knowing that you're willing to learn. And I think students also appreciate honesty. Like they're not, if you don't know, you can always say get back to you tomorrow, or in the moment. Just being patient and listening and just showing that you want to be there, I think is usually a really key thing. Students can tell, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. Within that time, was there ever a specific experience, whether it's with a student, a colleague, anything that has like really stuck with you, like during this process?
Oh, so many different like small and big examples. I mean, I think in general, like where I really take so much joy is like when I've worked with a student for a couple of years, and even if it's been like rough, you see that joy, that final, light at the end of the tunnel when they're a senior and they're able to kind of own it themselves. In the beginning, it's like learning how to advocate for yourself, and those like moments when they come back to you and they say, I talked to the teacher and I was like, and they're like, and they're gonna work with me, and just that experience of like they learn something, they know that they can ask for help, they can do it. Those are all the skills that we want like our students to have like before they graduate, because you're never alone, right? You're always got to figure out how to ask for help. That's probably one of the hardest skills for most students is it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, this one's reaching the light at the end of the tunnel. Semester 2, senior year. Tell us a little bit about that, Aashka. How do you feel?
I'm like a little stressed, but like I feel like this year I've kind of started like actually utilizing the counselor and like going and asking more questions than I have been previously.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, like what types of questions do you think students should be like coming up to you and asking, like if they have them?
I think it varies. Like our job, it covers a lot of things. You know, there is kind of like the main academic piece, is like, you know, graduation and course requirements. But it's great when students can ask, like, you know, a little bit more details about like course rigor, or you know, what type of classes we have seen students who are interested in certain majors. Just kind of coming and asking. A lot of times the conversation just flows once they start, right? It's like you might have a question, but then we can kind of keep going with it. I think sometimes we appreciate, or a lot of times we appreciate students who are thinking beyond just the academics, right? It's very easy to focus on the grades and the courses, but we're also here to help you become young adults, you know, going into the real world. And so, something that I think a lot of students sometimes forget to ask is just like thinking about post high school, like what are your goals, and taking time to think about long-term goals, short-term, long-term goals. Long-term is kind of a big word, but just thinking beyond just like the school stuff.
Yeah, def. I know with like second semester, do you guys get a lot more like college angled questions or like topics, or does it still stay very broad all throughout?
You mean for like seniors or for?
Yeah.
I think it depends. For seniors, second semester I think is more about making sure they're getting their financial aid applications in and looking for scholarships. Senior spring I think is a waiting game. They're just your college admissions are happening, so there's still that super kind of stressful unknown. But I think we just encourage students, like, you did your part, you have to just wait, and you have to trust that like the right college, there's more than one right college, and it's like there's a lot of opportunities in different colleges, and you have to just take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. Just like students, we want to take advantage of clubs and sports and stuff here. Just kind of being more open about like what's out there for students.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. I'll be real, that's beautiful. Because I think like last year, like for my first year of high school, I never really like went to my counselor for anything, because I was kind of like you said, a little bit intimidated. Like you should be able to like ask for help and stuff. And so like, have you ever had a moment with a student where you kind of like seen that growth from like I don't know, like struggle and like intimidation to like when they're done and they're like more confident, and like I don't know, do you have like a story that you could tell us about that? And
yeah, I think working with a student who like freshman year maybe just struggled with, you know, going to attendance in school regularly, just not quite being plugged in, and slowly kind of working with like, well, which teacher do you feel like, you know, you can connect with more? And like I said earlier, just like seeing them approach the teacher, feeling that confidence they can do it. And then still there's bumps in the road, you know, but then now it's at the point where they're like, we're having conversations about community college or majoring and those kind of things. So I think a lot of it stems from just the student's openness in seeing that there's a lot of help out there, and not missing those opportunities, or realizing that we're not scary people, but we do have expectations. Like we do want to keep you going, and we can't just like, you know, let you have an easy path to get, you know, your diploma or your grades and stuff like that. So
that's important. That's important. And what you guys do is really important. I feel like at least like some of the people that I know, like they see counselors as like genies. It's like, oh my gosh, I have a problem, my counselor's just gonna like fix it. But I think that it's like really significant to have someone like look out for you and be like putting you on the right path, and so I think that's really cool.
I was gonna say, we're a big school, so it is hard. I wish I did have more time to like connect with all the students, but I also totally appreciate when students reach out. Like I have some freshmen who have come up and just said, I just want to introduce myself, and they don't necessarily have a problem. And I think like that's a big skill, just to be able to do that. And it takes a couple years, sometimes even after high school, to realize, you know, talking to adults, and that is not easy. I certainly didn't have that skill, which is why I didn't talk to my counselor. I was very much like, what do I need from my counselor? Okay, I'm done. And I think there's timing for everything. So
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any advice for any students that are either in that starting stage and for students that are like finishing off high school?
yeah, for sure. Freshman year is a lot of just transitioning. It goes by fast, like I'm thinking about the sophomores that I just met with in a presentation, and just encouraging them to try a club or try a class like journalism, or try something, because you don't know unless you actually go into that club or class. And then you could find out if you don't like it or if you do like it. And a lot of times it's like the unexpected discoveries that you find out, like, I'm actually interested in that field. Or I'm sure even with journalism, you've learned to work with a lot of different people, and you've had to put yourself out there. So my advice for that kind of the ninth and 10th is, like, keep trying different things, even if it's just tagging along with a friend for a club. Like, it's still something that you can grow into. And then I think junior, senior year, we want students to think a little bit more beyond, right? Like, not just academics, of course, education, we want to keep you going, but also thinking about, like, what kind of impact, like, you can make in your current community, and also thinking about, like, what do you want to do with afterwards? Like, what type of impact you want to make? Because school at some point will end, But you got to think about, like, what kind of person you want to be in the world, what kind of friend you want to be, what kind of citizen in the community. So I think that's kind of where we want to see as you're graduating.
That's good. Well, do you have anything?
I know a lot of juniors and seniors also have private counselors. How do you feel like that affects, like, you and, like, counselors, like, at this school?
I mean, students who have outside counseling, that's, it's fine. I think where we remind students is make sure that you're following still the homestead deadlines, because sometimes if you have someone who's on the outside, they're not necessarily able to track, like, all the homestead requirements. So sometimes you run into some issues with that. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was due. It's like, well, our homestead is still your primary deadline. In terms of impact, I mean, I think it's case by case. If a student is getting that support of, like, learning about different colleges, or they need that extra layer, we always tell students who are available, Ms. Bellamy is available to help with any piece. So, like, if a student comes in, we're never going to say, oh, we can't help you with this part of your application. So it doesn't impact me in terms of, like, if you have that's like on your own extra time, but we never want students to feel like they need to have a counselor to be able to apply to colleges. As a school, we're able to provide. We have college reps that come in, we have different workshops, financial aid, all of that stuff is available too.
Yeah, cool. Yesterday was the presentations, right, for, like, the colleges and stuff like that, and I remember hearing a lot of people go, like, bro, why do I need a 4-year plan? Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do in, like, senior year, 5th period, like, I don't even know. But can you tell us about, like, the significance or, like, the purpose of having those kind of outlines?
Yeah, the 4-year planning is definitely, like, multifaceted. It's kind of the kickstart of we're getting ready for course selection, so if anything, it's just getting you warmed up to, like, oh, I need to start thinking about my classes, because we have course information fair coming up, so we want students to at least know or start brainstorming where they want to go visit so they can, like, choose the courses. But I think a big thing that I've seen just from my last class that I presented was, one, it's exciting to just think about your future, but the other factor is that I think it kind of lowers anxiety if you give yourself, if you plan ahead. I think I'm still learning that even as an adult, right? Like, I have to take care of my home life or other things. It's like, oh, if I plan ahead earlier, in general, I'll approach everything with a more calm perspective. It's the same thing with, like, procrastinating. If you procrastinate, it's going to be more anxious. So you can still choose your courses in a month, but if you plan a little bit ahead, when it comes down to it, you'll be like, oh, I already know what I'm going to take. So the 4-year plan is really just a guideline. It's not your course selection, but it helps you think about your future, like what you might want to go. And then if you have any questions about any classes, it's going to give you time right now to go to ask questions with upperclassmen or teachers to find out more about what's out there.
Yeah. That's a good strategy. I hadn't really thought about it, because when I was doing my 4-year plan, I don't know, but I feel like it increased my anxiety. I was like, man, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I feel like it it's really well to know that it's not like set in stone.
Yeah, we definitely, made it clear, hopefully,
Yeah.
that this 4-year plan is really just your own worksheet. So
Yeah.
we don't send it anywhere. It doesn't go to your teachers or anything like that. And it can be changed at any point. It's just hopefully the goal is
Yeah.
that you look at it and you're like, okay, I only want to take this number of classes my senior year, so I'm going to have to plan my college requirements. And so if you wait until junior year to do that, then you might be scrambling for what
Yeah.
you need for senior year. So it's not like no anxiety, but it's also like just an opportunity to
Yeah.
give yourself more time to work on it.
Definitely.
I appreciate the feedback, though.
Yes. Thank you.
We definitely don't want that, but yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
through time it'll
No, yeah,
be
for sure.
helpful.
I think even journalism, like what I'm doing right now, I remember like looking on the little drop down menu and I was like, man, I need to get an elective done, or like I need like that credit. And I just saw journalism and I'm like, you know what?
It's an elective.
It's an
Great
elective. It gets me what I need.
Yeah.
And so like it all
No,
worked
I
out,
think if
yeah.
you're able to find an elective that you continue on, I mean, that's huge. I think that's not the case for every student. We don't, we only have so many course offerings.
Yeah.
But it's really amazing when students do find, like, whether it's yearbook journalism, sports, or clubs, and they stick with it. That's actually it's a great thing to see, because then you've found something you're interested in and you're willing to, you care about it enough to keep doing it the next year.
Yeah. And it's like you mentioned earlier, like you try new classes that you also eliminate.
Yeah.
That you like, I took what's that class? Digital design and like programming and stuff. Like I've never done programming in my life, and I was like, you know what?
You tried
This
it.
is not for me.
And now you
It's
know
not
what
for me.
that kind of world
Yeah,
works through. What you're
definitely.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Aashka has probably had some hit or misses
Tried
there.
some, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tried 2 years of physics. Decided to major in English.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
really.
And now you don't need to try like a physics class in college to find out if you really like it, or you can always do it as an elective, but you tried. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's great.
that's great.
I
Yeah.
did not stick to my 4-year plan at all.
Yeah, no, me neither. No, but it's good.
It's just a guideline. Yeah. It's just to make you think. That's basically
Yeah, that's
the
good.
goal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think that is all we have for today. Is there anything that you would like to add?
I think that's good. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yes,
you
of
know, it's nice to
course.
see students in action.
Yeah, just getting creative here. But thank you so much for
You're
being on. I
welcome.
really appreciate it.
Yeah,